And joining us right now on the Steve Malzberg Show is Heather McDonald, contributing editor of City Journal and a fellow at the Manhattan Institute. And she has a great new piece out at City Journal, The Real Risks of Amnesty. Hey, Heather, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me on, Steve. I'm great.
Well, pleasure to talk to you again. All right, you say, first of all, if you want to weigh in on what Holder said, but you say in your piece, a lot of people are saying we need to take a second look at immigration reform based on the terror attacks in Boston. And you say that, that's an aside. And really, that wasn't going to be stopped by taking another look if things were even different. But you're saying that we need to look at the real consequence, which is the unity of our culture here in this country, and how it would be eroded. And I just saw a stat from Numbers USA that they say in the first decade of this bill, 33 million more people would come into this country.
Well, I was worried, Steve, that by making this all about terrorism, it would allow the Gang of Eight to say, oh, well, we've got this and that provision that will tighten up terrorism, therefore everything's fine, pass the bill. And while terrorism is obviously a real concern and is awful every time it happens, it is a risk, whereas the costs of illegal immigration as it currently exists are known and certain, and that is we have brought in, and we will probably continue to bring in, millions of very low-skilled, low-educated people who may have the best of intentions, but their children are assimilating into the underclass. They're putting enormous stress on public services like education and health care, and it is simply not in this country's best interest when we are facing an extremely competitive, educationally driven rival in China that is focusing on high skills, and what we've got with this illegal alien population is very low skills, and I think that's not in this country's best interest.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And, at a time when there are people who have got dropped out of the workforce by the millions, and college graduates now, just another piece out today, that they can't find jobs that are equal to their skill level. I hear it from both ends. On one hand, we have to have the low-skilled workers come into this country so that they could, clean the dishes, which to me is the most racist thing I've ever heard. If a Republican said that, they'd be lambasted for it. But that's the left's argument. They got to clean the toilets and the dishes. And on the other hand, we need high-skilled workers to come in and do the high-skilled work. I mean, what about America's workers?
Yeah. The real beneficiaries of immigration are the immigrants themselves. And it's nice for America to give a lifeboat to Mexicans, but what's not included in most of the calculations is the costs to low-skilled workers that they are driving out of the marketplace. So the alleged benefits of illegal immigration are very unevenly distributed, and what is often left out of the calculation is what their children and themselves are consuming in government welfare. For me, one of the most telling signs of what our future looks like, it always comes from California. California is the most advanced in the demographic revolution that we're seeing, and Governor Jerry Brown has recently announced that he wants to strip funding from succeeding middle-class schools, and move that to schools with high proportions of English learners, which is Hispanics, not Asians. This at a time when, again, we should be focusing on our most successful students, not on our least. And you're going to see this over and over again with a massive effort, given our culture's commitment to equality and the belief that everybody should come out at the exact same position. The stress that these students are putting on schools is enormous, and it's going to suck resources away from the most successful students.
Heather, one minute left, but let me just ask you this question. Do you think that this is going to get through, or do you think there's enough opposition in the House at least? I heard Schumer talking about 70 votes in the Senate, which would be a disaster. Can it be stopped?
Steve, I'm frankly pessimistic. I think the Republicans have embraced this false idea that the only thing that stands between them and Hispanic votes is amnesty, whereas in fact what draws Hispanics to the Democratic Party is big government programs like Obamacare.
Yep. It was fourth on their list or fifth on their list of concerns after the 2012 election, and Republicans are in a fantasy land, and 33 million people are going to come in this country in 10 years, and they're going to be all Democratic voters. It's insane. Heather McDonald, everybody should check it out at City Journal, the piece by Heather McDonald on the Real Risks of Amnesty, a fellow at the Manhattan Institute. Thank you, Heather. Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Really, you got to read this piece because it is brilliant and it is on target, and the Republicans are committing suicide not only for themselves as a party, but for the nation in many respects. We're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.